You guys, Rissa here with Culture Fuzz. Thank you so much for joining me back here on my channel. If it's your first time here, make sure you hit that bell notification and that subscribe button so you can always get notified when I put up new content. On today's episode of Culture Fuzz Conversations, I am being joined by the lovely Barry Besley, a 38-year-old artist from Atlanta, Georgia, who went through a life-changing traumatic experience that actually changed his life for the better, filling it with hope, art, and love. I met Barry while networking on Facebook, and I was completely blown away and captivated by his story, and I knew it was something that had to be shared and bridge that gap. If this is something that you're interested in learning, if you want to learn how to monetize off of your art, if you want to just join the conversation, make sure you stay tuned. Barry, thank you so much for being on an episode of Culture Fuzz Conversations, where we're bridging the gap to people, places, products, and philosophies I know are going to make a difference, quality difference in people's lives. And the reason why I brought you on this show is because, you know, we connected on Facebook. You told me I was completely blown away and drawn into your artwork. As you guys can see, his
Thank
artwork
you.
in the background. And you shared a little bit, you know, of your story with me, and I was absolutely compelled and blown away, and had to get you on so you could share your story. So let me stop babbling. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the viewers, what you do, and yeah.
Well, my name is Barry Besley. I am an up and coming artist from Atlanta, Georgia. And I mean, I have different styles, as you can see. And
Mm-hmm.
that's basically who I am, where I'm from. I mean,
So he's a painter, an artist. So you draw, you paint, you sketch. Like it's what's your range of artistry?
oh, I do all of that. I
Yeah,
paint, draw,
yeah.
I do sculpting. I mean, anything art related, crafts, anything
You're
I
like
do.
anything. So before we jump into the artwork, I kind of wanted to dive back into your story. So I know there's a lot of people out there who kind of neglect their craft and neglect their creativity because they fall into the everyday grind of the nine to five. Things happen, you know, they have to push that stuff off to the side, or they were never encouraged to really dive into their creativity to let them blossom. So, what did you go through, or what life events happened for you to where you finally sat down and embraced your creativity and your art?
Well, I mean, a lot happened to me. Like right out of high school, I had went straight into the military. I was in the Marines for 4 years. After I got out of the Marines, I had to cope with the transition from military to civilian life, and that's always hard.
Right.
And yeah, and after I finally could balance the two, I started working. I worked in fast food for a long time,
Yeah.
and I figured, I was stuck and couldn't get a full career like I wanted. And so I got out of that after 8 years. I was working at Zaxby's. And
Mm.
so after 8 years of working at Zaxby's, I wasn't getting promoted or nothing like that. I quit it. And, after sitting down, I still went right back into fast food. I
Yeah.
started working at IHOP.
Yeah.
And at IHOP, I was getting promoted. I was a dishwasher to begin with.
Mhm.
And I got promoted to being a server and a cook, and then I got promoted to being a manager.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And then after being a manager, I was a manager for I think it was like 3, 4 years or something like that.
Oh wow.
But I still wasn't feeling that was my place,
Mhm.
you know. And
Mhm.
I loved art from a kid. I loved art, and I knew that that was my real dream. That was my passion.
Yeah.
And so, I had got a extra job while I was working at IHOP. I had got a job working at a warehouse at Tory Burch.
Mhm.
And so you can imagine the hours. I was working 15 plus hours
That's insane.
a day, yeah. And so I really didn't have no time to fulfill what I really wanted to do. And
Mhm.
it wasn't until I had gotten into a really bad car accident.
Mhm.
The car accident, I could have died in the car accident. And the paramedic said so. told me that the car should have flipped over, and I was fighting to get the car in to keep the car in the road. And
Right.
I said like the car should have flipped over at least 5 or 6 times, and I could have been dead.
Wow.
And so yeah, that really just sat me down and made me realize like I really need to focus on what I like to do. You
Uh-huh.
know, instead of I always I always thought about it, instead of making other people rich, I need to focus on my life and fulfill my life.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
that's what really did it. The whole year of me sitting down, not being able to work, I really focused on my passion, and that's art. And
Yeah.
you know, it blossomed for me.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but kind of beautiful at the same time that it does take some traumatic life events for us to be like, okay, wait, what am I about? But sometimes we need that extreme because we won't listen or we won't be receptive to those feelings that we have. There's reasons why we feel stagnant. There's reasons why we feel that we're not moving forward. So first and foremost, I'm so glad that you're here with us today and that, everything is okay. But I want to go back to your time into the military, and I can only imagine the psychological toll it takes to transition back into society and just kind of getting your groove back and stuff like that. Did artwork play a role in helping with your transition back?
You know, it really didn't, because all I could focus on was trying to make a living after the military. You know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
with the military, mostly everything is kind of handed to you. I want to say, you know, you got somebody that's gonna wake you up. You got
Right.
somebody telling you what to do, when to do it, where to do it at.
Right.
But in real life, outside of the military, you don't have somebody telling you, okay, it's time to get up, or it's time.
Mm.
So, I mean, artwork really didn't play a part into the transition type. It was just, I got good work ethic, and, I was hitting my job real hard, and that
Right.
got me to focus on the transition.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I can, I know that there's a lot of people out there probably watching this who've gone through similar things that you've gone through. And there's a huge testament to your work ethic and your mindset. And not a lot of people will look at situations like that or try to find the positivity or try to find the motivation to just keep pushing.
Mhm.
What advice do you have, or what tools did you use or tell yourself to get through those really hard, dark days?
The really hard, dark days.
Because we all have those, man.
Yeah. I have some really amazing, wonderful children, and my mother, she's an incredible lady, and she and my kids play a major part in getting me through all my difficulties. When I was jobless, and when I was in this car accident and not being able to work, and when I was feeling sad and depressed, my kids and my mother pulled me through all that. And my mom, she really pushed me to do all this stuff back here. She
Good.
really pushed me into the art. And
Good.
like my first art event that I had, she made it her business. My mama does not like to travel. She does not like and she made it her business to be there and be that emotional support for me. And so did my kids. They wanted to come so bad. And all of them was there pushing me through. I was nervous. It was my first time doing something major like that, where I have a whole group of people that I don't know coming to look at my work. And at the time I felt like my work wasn't good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot
Mm-hmm.
of artists think that like their
Oh,
work is
yes.
good enough. And so
Yes.
I felt that way. And my mom was there patting me on my back. You're doing good. You got this.
Yeah.
And that having that emotional support there, it really helped me out. And
Yeah.
hearing the comments on my artwork when people was walking through saying, "Oh man, that's good," and this is that, and all this, and it really felt good, and that really pushed me to do even more and greater pieces.
That's amazing. So that show, that time with your mom was kind of like the validation, like, oh my God, like this feels really good. I want to pursue this.
Yes, yes.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And Do you still work full time, or is artwork your full time gig, or
Artwork is my full-time gig
that's
now.
amazing. Can you explain the transition into that? So I know that, after the accident, you really couldn't do anything. So I know being put in positions of discomfort, it forces us to look at things differently and approach things differently and kind of problem solve differently. Can you
Yeah.
explain a little bit of your transition, or what your thought process was, or your techniques to lead up to, like, okay, how can I monetize? How can I pay the bills with my artwork? Because from what I understand, you've got like a basketball team with the six man off the bench. You've got, like, six mouths to feed. So
Yeah.
it's absolutely amazing to hear stories like that, where it's like, I'm not only paying bills, but I'm providing for my entire family. Can you give a little bit of insight on how that transition happened?
Okay, so when I first started trying to sell my artwork, it was real difficult. Like I said, I felt like I wasn't good enough. My pieces wasn't good enough to be bought.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I had a couple people to help me out on my first event I had, and they were telling me, along with my mother, they were telling me that it's gonna be okay. We're gonna get through this and all that. And that night was real hectic. It was a lot going on,
Yeah.
and I had to be introduced to everybody that was there, and and so like I said, after I heard people saying, "Oh, this is good," and all that, it really boosted me to do better pieces. And so selling my artwork, I started online with Instagram
Okay.
and Facebook,
Okay.
and so I really didn't know the ins and out as much, and so I had to get somebody to help me through that. So the guy I got to help me, he walked me through everything, and I'm trying to sit there and retain all the information that he given me, and with marketing and promoting and all that,
Mm-hmm. That's a
I
whole
really,
other world.
yeah. And so, I really focused on that. So, I mean, if you want to sell your artwork, you start online. That's the biggest place to sell artwork, online.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you just have to pay attention to promotions and marketing and stuff. If you market it and promote it right, it's going to sell.
It's branding, baby. Yeah, no, that's amazing. And again, like, it's so amazing to hear these stories, because you're not only finding a way to sell your art, but you're becoming like a business owner, a brand manager, a networking, you're networking all the time. So would you just
Yes.
like slide up in the DMs and be like, can you check out my art? Or like,
Okay.
what's your networking technique?
So what I do is every time I get a new friend on Facebook, I got a copy and paste message that I send to everybody. Check out my artwork on Instagram, and if you want anything, just DM me. Let me know. The whole bells and whistles. And
Mm-hmm.
and so I send that out to everybody who add me on Facebook and
Mm-hmm.
add me on Instagram. And
Mm-hmm.
several promotions throughout the time, a little $20 promotion to get my artwork in different places, states, countries, and all that. And so people see that and they end up following my page and liking it. And, it builds a relationship, a
Mm-hmm.
customer relationship with them. And
Right.
so I do a little bit of that. And also, I would say get a website too.
Mm.
Yeah,
What's your website? Where can we find
I
your
am
website?
currently working on my website right
Good. Good.
now.
Good.
Yeah.
Yes. No, websites are very, very important. We all need a home base where we can go, where we can do stuff. But that's really awesome, because I know firsthand, learning branding and network marketing is a whole other monster. But when done right, you can make beautiful connections like the ones that we've made, and it can just take off from there. I can't stop taking my eyes off of the painting behind you of the geisha woman.
This one right here.
Yes, yes. Can you please give a little bit of insight, or the inspiration, the story behind this art?
So this piece, I have another piece that's a geisha lady also, and these pieces mean a lot to me. I had went to Michael's one day, and
Mm-hmm.
Michael's is the art store, and I was walking around, and I met this old lady, old Chinese lady. I think she's in her 70s,
Yeah.
and so she loves art, and she wanted to learn how to do more with her art. She
Mm-hmm.
does more like abstract pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And me and her, we built a relationship. We was hanging around each other for, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 months. And she
Oh,
would
wow.
come my house, and she would cook me dumplings and
Oh, that's amazing.
all this and all that. I met her. I met her kids. They own restaurants. They own a restaurant called Lazy Betty,
Okay.
named after their mother, and they
Oh,
own a couple of gezzos. And I was hanging out with her, hanging out with her kids, and all this. And me and her had a very good relationship, and she
yeah.
was so nice and sweet.
Yeah.
And she always wanted me to do something with some kind of seductive, elegant, beautiful painting of a lady and
Oh,
all this.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And she ended up having cancer, and she passed away.
Oh,
And so she had bought so much. Her condo was full of art supplies and all this. And her son called me, he said, "Hey, if you want some of these supplies, you can come get some and all this." So I ended up getting some supplies. And most of this in the background of this geisha is
yes.
her books. She had a lot of Chinese art books.
I was
And
gonna
so
ask, yeah, what the papers are behind that. That's
I
beautiful.
cut them up and I pasted them onto a canvas and I
Uh-huh.
painted over it. She always wanted me to do a elegant, beautiful lady, so I painted an elegant, beautiful lady on there.
Oh my
And so
goodness.
they mean a lot to me. There's my way of dedicating some of my art to her.
That's beautiful. That's a beautiful story behind that. That has so much meaning. This is why I love art and why I'm so drawn to art because there's always a story and artists
Yeah,
always speak through their words and their pictures and it's just blown away. Do you commission artwork like this or
I
can people get like print copies of this or?
well, from what I mostly do one of ones. I don't do prints too much because most of the people that buy artwork from me, they want something that's original and
Yeah,
no other copies out there. So
makes
that's
sense.
mostly what I do. At my
Yeah.
art events, I do have some printouts,
Mm-hmm.
but I mostly do original one of one pieces.
Hey, it brings up the value and it's authentic and it just there's something special about knowing that you have just that original piece of artwork. So no, yeah, that's beautiful. Going back to generating income off of what it is that you love to do, I saw on your Facebook that you do sip and paints also. Is
Oh
that
yeah.
a new element that you do, or how long have you started doing that?
Well, I've always wanted to do it, but I've just recently, this month, I've had a lot of sip and paints, and I've really been booked the end of July to, I think my last one is the 24th of this month.
That's amazing.
So yeah, a lot of people been asking me to do sip and paints and paint parties for their kids, and I actually have one coming up. I'm waiting on her to call me back to give me the dates, but
Yeah.
she got one for her church, and it's going to be like 20 plus kids there.
That is amazing. What a beautiful way to just connect with yourself and connect with the community and, find a way to monetize. Because the reason why I emphasize that is because so many people get stuck on, I can't make money off of what it is that I love to do. And people get stuck there and then they start to stifle their creativity. So by asking you these questions, I'm hoping someone will get inspiration or start to look into these different avenues of at least making side money or finding a way to monetize off of their dream.
You can't get stuck. You can't get
Yeah.
stuck and go back to what you used to doing. I mean, if you wanna make money off your artwork, if you really want to make it a career, you really have to sit there and focus on it.
Yep. Yep.
You
Yep.
can't blow it off and say, okay, I'm just gonna go back to the 9 to 5. I mean, it's been times where I was tempted. I
Yes.
need a job, I gotta do this and I gotta do this. This artwork isn't paying off like I wanted to, but I realized, hey, this is what I want to do in life. And
Right.
you just have to sit there and focus on it. You
Right.
can't get,
Yeah, I can absolutely relate to that 1000%. And I was doing an interview yesterday, and we were talking about tribe, and how important it is to have tribe. As you know, you had like your mother and everyone around you supporting you, but this is probably when I'm doing Culture Fuzz, I actually lost my job. I used to work at like a doctor's office in Beverly Hills. I had the job, I had the studio apartment. I had that life, but I was still really unhappy. And at the end of the day, I'm still a creator. I'm still someone that loves to talk to people and hear their stories. Like, this is what I do. Like, I can go to a random place, spark up a random conversation with the randomest person, and get the most compelling story. And I'm like, people have to know about this. So I am put in a position now where I'm making, the way that life happened, I'm making half the money that I'd made last year. So it's putting me in financial positions where I'm so tempted to go and get another 9 to 5 that's paying me as much as I used to. But I know that that would sacrifice my energy. It would take away focus for what it is that I want to do. So making that decision and kind of putting out into the universe and telling God, like, no, 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 this is what I want to do. I want to do this blog. I want to do interviews. I want to find a way to influence people and find a way to monetize off of that, knowing that by sticking with that decision, sacrificing now, I'm putting myself in a position where I have to figure it out, where I have to be like, nope, this is what I want to do. I need to figure out how to make money. I don't know. I got to figure it out.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. And that's why I'm very much like, yo, like, I'm so happy you figured it out, because we all understand that struggle, but you are a true testament to what it's like to push through. And as long as you're educating yourself and learning and self-feeding, like, anything is absolutely possible. But we can't waver. We can't cop out.
No, you can't. You can't cup out. It's been
Yeah,
times where I wanted to, but you can't. If you're doing something like this, you're going to put in more hours, more work than a regular 9 to 5. You're going to have to put in more hours, more work, but it's going to be a bigger payoff. You're doing something
absolutely.
that you love to do.
Absolutely.
Why not push it?
And my whole thing is, why work harder for someone else
Exactly.
to get rich than for yourself, like, and that's something that I had to figure out. And it's so easy to fall into the safety net of getting that check every single week or every couple of weeks. But I read a lot about Buddhist culture and, a lot about self-development, and they're like, you will not grow unless you put yourself in a place of discomfort. And I know after your accident, you were like, I'm hella uncomfortable, but like, I gotta figure it out. And a lot of people don't have that mindset where they're, or have that support system around them, to help them pull through and help them figure it out. So do you have any advice or any experience with times where you don't even have tribe, or suggestions that you give to
Yeah.
people, who they don't have that support system, advice on trying to find that support system? Because as you know, like, it's so important, so, so important to have people around you to help you get out of that dark
It
space.
really is. It really is. I I have a huge family. My granddad, he had 14 kids.
Wow.
Yeah, and their kids had at least 5 or 6 kids. So my whole family is very huge. And you would imagine with a huge family, I would have tons of support.
You would think, I know that
But
story well. You would
yeah.
think.
But surprisingly, my family, the only support I got from my family was my mother, my aunt, and probably like one or two of my cousins. And it was an eye opener because I thought I would get better support from everybody, but I only had support from a handful of people in my family.
Mhm.
Uh, Other support, I mean, you put your work out there. I got support like people like you. I've never met you face to face, and I feel like you're a type of support for me. You put
Mhm.
your work out there, and people will support you regardless if they know you or not. They'll
Yeah.
support you.
Yeah, and that is huge, and I'm glad that you said that, because as creators, it is terrifying to put ourselves out there and put
It,
our artwork out there. It's very vulnerable because it speaks to who we are on the inside, because art is a translation of our spirit or whatever. Get
Mhm.
deep into that, but um, encouraging people to understand that, yes, it's scary, but working on yourself enough to cultivate that confidence. So when you do reach out to people, you will get rejected. People will, there will be some people who will not understand what you're doing. But out of those 5 people, there will be that one person who is like, wow, like I absolutely relate to your story, or I love your artwork. How can I support? But it's about putting yourself out there.
That is
Do you have any experience with, and I know there was a time when you were saying you didn't feel that your artwork was worthy, and you had your mother and your aunt telling you that it was. But what about the times where those days where those words were not, they weren't processing, like you were spiraling, you were just in that space, like what advice can you give to that?
well, I mean, when I first started, I had my mother and my kids, but I still felt like, it still
Right.
wasn't good.
Right. Yep.
And I mean, like you said, you got to put yourself out there, and that's what I did. Even though my mom was saying all this, that it was good, and I still believed that it wasn't. I still took that leap of faith. You have to take a leap of faith.
That's it.
If you want to pursue something, you just have to get out there and do it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's scary, but you got to just do it with your knees knocking and your teeth chattering. That is
Yes.
from Lisa Nichols. She is one of my favorite motivational speakers, but it's kind of like, what do you have to lose, And I know with Culture Fuzz and doing these interviews, I'm terrified all the time. I'm always, it took us like 2 days to get this done because it just, schedules and technical difficulties, and we had to go borrow someone's phone, and it's just so like things can happen, but you put yourself out there, and I'm just so grateful that you're one of the many people who just gets it, and you're just like, we're gonna make this happen, we're gonna figure it
Yeah.
out. But that's because it's a
And
result of us putting ourselves out there. Yeah.
and I'm still working on it. I mean, I don't have it perfect down to a T yet. I'm
Honey, no
still
one does.
uh,
I don't care how successful you are. I feel like the different levels is just different situations. It's one thing that is always guaranteed is bullshit is going to happen. Always. Like you don't know what's going to happen, you don't know when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen.
exactly. My going back to my first event. I always go back to my first event because so much stuff happened at my first.
Yeah.
I was featuring another artist at the time, and then she wanted to be not featured as a co-artist. She wanted to be featured as the artist.
Okay.
Yeah, and I guess we wasn't catering to her needs. And I was telling all these people, hey, my first event, I'm gonna have my artwork and another artist's artwork. And by the time the event started, she pulled out. She didn't want to do it no more. So I'm like, oh man, now I gotta produce 2 times more artwork to fill up the whole space. So I spent day and night working on art pieces to fill up the whole venue. And
Wow.
I was tired the day of
How
the
many
event.
pieces did you end up making?
It was around 120, I think.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That is
I had
like, okay.
I
So I
had
want
to
to
put,
emphasize this. I want to emphasize this really, really fast because I think it's these tiny, tiny moments that we make decisions whether we're going to fight or flight that molds us into the type of person that we're trying to be.
yeah,
And there's so many reasons to pull out of something like that, especially if you have to fill up a venue. Like I'm over here, I'm not even an artist. I'm like, I would be freaking out. I would start crying. Like, I don't
oh, I
know.
was freaking out.
You're like, don't get me wrong, but you didn't buckle and fold. Like, regardless of you not knowing whether it's going to work out or not, like, you still made the decision to be that person who's like, you know what? I made a commitment. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to happen. This could all burn down, but I'm going to go
Exactly.
for it. I'm going to go for
I
it.
had to. I had
Yeah,
to. This is what I want to do, and I had to make it work.
that's
And not
amazing.
only did my artist pull out, I also had my photographer. He up and jumped ship too. So
Wow.
it was
Wow.
so much going on at that event.
I would be referencing my first event if events like that took place too all the time. But those stories are the stories that now you can look back on and be like, wow, like I can't believe I pulled that off. But it, I'm sure, showed people a different side of you. It forced you to step up to the plate. You proved stuff to yourself, and
Yeah.
That's what a lot of people, I think, miss the mark. It's, you're asking to be great. You're asking to, make a living off of this or be a professional from this, but we don't take the time to mold ourselves or to go through the very things that are going to shape us into a person who can handle something like that. So
Mm.
by you doing something like that and doing 120 pieces, is that what you
Right.
said?
Mm.
120 pieces, the knowledge and experience that you gained alone just from that, had you not gone through that, you probably wouldn't have known what you were capable of doing,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
That's true.
Like, so kind of like it's an excellent reference point, and that's why I never try to look at these situations as like, when I was having all this technical difficulty, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna freak out, it's gonna work out, like it's gonna happen. And seeing that, like, okay, like I can do this, like I can definitely, I just have to put my mind to it, and it'll happen. So dude, kudos to you. Like that is like
Thank you.
freaking amazing. That's stories like that are just like, what? That is crazy. I was also scrolling down your Instagram and I did see a couple of photos with some beautiful, beautiful plates of food. Is that your
Okay.
doing?
So what I do, my events, I'm trying to do something like nobody's doing. So I'm branding my events under the name Artsy Minds. I came up
Hmm.
with that name. And my events, I have music and I have food and my artwork. So I try to tie in my
I'm
artwork.
sold. So food, yep. I mean, I don't even like football, and I'll go to football parties just for the food. So you have an angle. That's amazing. No, but keep going. Sorry.
And so I try to tie in the artwork and the food. So if I have something like this, the
Yeah,
geisha, I'm gonna try to have Oriental food, Asian dishes, stuff like that. So at
got
the
it.
first event, we was had the theme of vegan. So we was doing all vegan food, and we was playing some music that vibes in a vegan type restaurant and
For
stuff
sure.
like that.
For
So
sure.
I have this lady. She's a culinary artist. She's going to school for that, and she's part of my team. So anytime we have an event, we always gonna have food, and we always gonna have music.
That's
So,
amazing. I've never heard of an element where the food ties into the artwork. Like that's beautiful. So you have like two different types of artists implementing their artistry into
exactly.
this event. Yeah. And how
So
do
I'm
you guys
having,
choose? Oh, I'm
I'm
sorry. Go
sorry.
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So I'm having thinking about having an event in October to celebrate Halloween, and she's trying to do some Halloween dishes.
Yeah.
It's gonna
Yeah.
be she's not a pastry chef, but she's gonna try to do something kind of pastry wise, and it's gonna have like a Halloween theme to it. So,
See,
and I'm
and she's gonna go through stuff that's gonna make her see what she's made of too, and discover stuff about
exactly that's
herself. So that's awesome. Like that's so huge because a lot of people, myself included, won't move forward with something because we feel that we're not good enough yet, or it's not been perfected, or it's like I want to make sure I'm good at this before I do it. And the reality of it is you have to just jump, right?
you gotta go for it. You got to go for it.
Yeah, that's the best experience. It's like, you know what? If these pastries coming out look crazy, it's Halloween anyway. And be like, yep, it's supposed to be a monster. Like,
I mean,
so
we went through so many trial and error with the food from the first event because she was doing stuff she's never done before, and so we had probably like 4 or 5 different tastings, and we had to push through all that too. So she didn't know how good people was gonna give feedback about her food, but she took that faith with me, jumped that leap of faith with me, and we both jumped out there and got everything done.
that's amazing. And now y'all are tribe. Who is this mystery woman? Where can we find her? Is this someone in like who's local, or what's her Instagram?
She's in Atlanta also. She
Uh-huh.
lives by me, but
Uh-huh.
her Instagram is in the works right now. But
Okay. Okay.
soon as because she had an Instagram to begin with, but I told her in order to make it kind of a business type of thing, she got to clean up some of the pictures,
There you
and so
go. Yeah.
she's working
Yep.
on
It's all
something there.
about quality marketing. Look at you sharing your skills and what you learning. That's what's up,
Hey.
though. Yeah. Turning into a leader. That's amazing. And I'm sure with all of the experience that you've attained from the workhouse and from the warehouse and Zaxby's and management at IHOP, because I've seen IHOP when it's really busy, and I've seen managers when they're running around. Do
Yeah.
you think, or would you say that that experience has helped you kind of get an understanding or of running a business, or?
For sure, for sure.
Yeah,
Because, like you said, they be jam packed sometimes, and as a manager, you have to get out there and you have to talk to people, and you have to get their food right, and take orders sometimes, and you have to fix stuff. And
right,
like with my first event, I had to do that. I have to go out there, talk to people, mingle, and oh, this food right here is this, and that. You
right,
all that plays a part into what I'm doing. You
right,
have
right.
you have to learn how to be a leader.
Exactly. And learn how to put out fires like as they come. Can you tell me like a really crazy story, the craziest thing that happened at IHOP that you
Oh,
remember?
man. Well, I mean, it's so many crazy things that happen at IHOP. I had this customer. His eggs were cold or something like that, and I fixed the eggs for him, and he told me, "Oh, these aren't the right kind of eggs," and he started a whole big argument with me. And he was a black guy, and he told me, "Hey, you're racist." I,
Oh
I said,
man, that's like that's not even creative. Like
"Yeah," he was calling me racist, and I'm saying, "Well, it was a whole big mess." But like
man,
I
over
said,
some eggs.
it was a lot of crazy ordeals at IHOP. A
Yeah,
lot.
I can only imagine. But yeah, it's just again, all of our life experiences, they prepare us. They prepare us for things. I don't believe in coincidences, so it totally makes sense that, the chaos going on at IHOP, and the chaos going on at your first event was kind of like, wow, like I've been here before, I've put out fires before. I know that, and I think that's why you might have had that mentality, like, just got to get it done, because that's how you've always been, and that's like a military mindset too, no? Like,
Yeah, it is. It is. It is. You be put in a certain situation, and you have to figure out the best way to get out of it. So,
hey, problem solvers, we need more of those. So do you do a lot of artwork with your children, or do they like doing artwork with daddy, or?
well, my oldest son, he loves art, and he's trying to get into it like I am. And
Yeah.
I do a lot of painting and drawing with him. My youngest, he's more of I guess, a stamp type of artist. So he'll put his hand in the paint and scribble around. So, I mean,
Hey,
I do a couple art pieces with them.
art is art, and there's pieces that I don't even understand. I'll never forget, and oh gosh, I hope I don't sound like an asshole for this, but I go to art shows a lot, and there was this one time, and I've seen some weird stuff, and I'm pretty open. So we go in, and there's this little boy, he's there with his parents, and he's got his whole exhibit up, and he's got like drawings and sketches, and I was like, okay, cool, I can dig it. And then I get to this one where it's literally just the word like poop on it. Like it just exactly with like some scribbles, and I'm like, okay, he's still a kid, like it's just very much, but there is a lot of where I'm just like, I don't know how to translate that. And we talked to the parents, and I was like, what's the story behind this? And they're like, he just felt like writing the word. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, me as an artist, I mean, I see a lot of pieces that I really can't make sense of myself. Uh, Especially, I'm not knocking abstract art. I do a little bit of abstract art, but abstract art really isn't my forte. I mean,
Sure.
I can't really understand the process of it, the mindset.
Same. I feel like it's a little too broad, me personally. And of course, anyone listening, if you want to school me on abstract art or what your opinions are, please, please, please leave some constructive and nice comments down below. I'm always open to learn and understand interpretation. But no, I'm kind of in that same boat with you. Like, I'm very much, I don't get it a lot. So, but it's cool. Like, I like the aesthetics and
Yeah,
stuff. But Yeah, no, I'm more am into like oil paintings and, scenery and like stuff like yours, like all the different elements of the geisha and even to the artwork. Is that Nipsey up there? No, who is
It
that up
is.
there? That's
It is.
Nipsey, my man. That's what's up. Like stuff like that. Like I look at the techniques and like the brush strokes and stuff. Like I'm not an artist myself, but I try to imagine myself as like me painting this, or what was this person thinking as they did this. And for abstract, it's like I don't know where they were when they were creating this
I
element.
mean, I
Like
get that too. I get that same thing too. I mean,
yeah,
I don't understand the process. Not putting it down or
not at
anything.
all, not at all, of
You know,
course
I
not.
just can't. I can't.
Yeah. Can you give me a little bit of background of the woman behind you, the one under Nipsey with like is like her hair, like it looks like fireflies and flowers, like yeah.
So this piece right here, I was doing a whole series. It was called Colored Women.
Mm-mm.
I did a couple of pieces of those. I don't know if you can see that one. Let me turn my camera a little bit. So this one up here.
Oh wow. Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah, I sold I had a Japanese one also. I sold that one. That one sold for I think 300, but it
Wow.
was the size of this. And I did it I mean it was for colored women.
Yeah,
It
and
was,
that's just what in the and how do you see when you think of an African American woman? And I mean, obviously I can see you think they're beautiful and vibrant and full of life and color, but that's just my interpretation. So when you think of an African American woman, what do you think of?
I think of strength. I think of color. I think of queens.
Mm,
All that. I mean, so I try to interpret that when I'm doing African American pieces. I try to interpret that and all those qualities in my pieces.
yeah. And one of your influences, which I don't know if people would be surprised by this, but you mentioned that Bob Ross was an inspiration to you back in the day.
Uh, he was a great inspiration. I used to watch Bob Ross all the time. He was a
Yeah.
great inspiration. He had a way of teaching that was telling you that it's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to
Mm,
do this. You can take it either way you want to, and it'll still turn out right. And so that's what I try to interpret in my paintings. When I do a painting, if I mess up, okay, it's okay for you to mess up. It's still
yeah.
gonna turn. So I mean, Bob Ross was a great inspiration.
That's huge. I never even looked at his message that way. I just remember coming home after school and I was like, here's this man with this afro and he's got this nice smooth voice and he's over here with, painting these colors. But that's a really powerful message to try and understand because that's what art is. It's just your interpretation. There's no such thing as perfect when creating artwork, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Just kind of have to go with it, go with the flow. Like that's amazing. Coming to the end of this, what do you advise up and coming artists or people that want to do artwork? Or, oh, no, I have another question. Did you go to school for art?
Well, I did go to school. I went to the Art Institute of Atlanta,
Mm-hmm.
but the teachings there wasn't teaching me anything. So I dropped out. I did probably like a year and a couple months in there.
Mm-hmm.
And after I saw that I really wasn't learning anything, I didn't want to waste my time
For
being there.
sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Why did you feel that you weren't learning anything?
Everything they told me I already knew. Everything that they
Mm,
was telling, and I mean, I talked to other people that was attending. I made friends there, and I talked to other people, and
mm-hmm.
they felt the same way also.
Yeah.
So why waste your time if you're not going to learn anything?
Hey, I hear you. I hear you. And I will never, ever, ever advise anyone to not go to school if you want to go to school. But I was that way too. Like I tried going to community college for a couple of years. I couldn't do it. Like it's just sometimes it just feels like a box. And sometimes experience and
Exactly.
life experience is the better teacher, or it's just sitting still in a chair. It just wasn't for me. Like I couldn't do it. I needed that stimulation, like.
And plus, I was using my military grants for school, and so
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to waste that money if it could be used for my kids. So
I hear you. I hear you. Yeah, it's you had a different philosophy for that, so I can understand that. Yeah. But yeah, what advice do you have for artists, the young ones out there, or even the older ones? Like, up and coming ones, what's some general advice that you would give to fellow artists out there?
Okay, well, I mean, general advice, if you feel like your work isn't good, it's probably just all in your head.
Preach it.
Yeah, you have to take a big leap of faith and put yourself out there. If you
Yeah,
want to really follow your dreams, you have to focus and you have to pursue your dreams. Don't put them on the side burner. Just get out there and do it. You really have to focus on what you want to do.
that's some amazing and powerful advice. And guys, everyone, if you want to continue this conversation, please leave comments down below. Barry, where can we find you, or how can someone reach out to you if they have questions as an artist, or if they want to buy your work or commission, or where can we find you?
Like I said, my website is under construction right now.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have Facebook, you can search Barry Besley, and
Mm-hmm.
it'll pull up my art page. If you're on Instagram, you can search Human Hybrid 81, and it'll pull up my art page. If you want to buy any artwork, you can DM me on either platform.
Perfect. Awesome. So, you guys, Barry, thank you so, so, so much for your patience
Thank you for having
and
me.
absolutely for joining me on this conversation and opening up about your art. I definitely want to meet up with you if you're ever in the Los Angeles area. I definitely, definitely want to meet up, and we can make a part two. And I want to do a sip and paint and all that fun stuff. But I know you're going to be big, and I know your artwork will take you places. So I know that time will be soon.
Thank you.
So thank you so much. Keep me posted on any events. Keep us posted on any events. I definitely want to spread the word and make that happen. And yeah, man, it was amazing having you on.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, all right, guys, that's it for the show. You guys, I'll leave his Instagram and his Facebook in the comments below. Again, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, if you want to know more about his artwork, hit him up, hit me up. Let's continue that conversation and continue bridging the gap. All right, my friend, I'll talk to you soon. I'll talk to you later. And all right, my friend, I'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.